Okay, so thanks, Ricardo, for the introduction. As you said, I work in Cornershop. I'm a project manager doing most of the things related to COVID-19, and I'm going to share about what have been our most difficult things to adjust during these strange times. So I just wanted to start by saying what Cornershop is, as there might be people in the audience that don't know. We like to say that Cornershop is actually free time. We are a last mile company that delivers different kind of groceries from different types of stores to your door. So we work with pharmacies, with supermarkets, pet stores. So it's a bunch of different type of stores, and we do the delivery from them to your store. Sorry, to your house. So I just want to start with a bit of a history, how everything started. We launched Mexico and Santiago around 2015. Then we went into several investment rounds up to 2018. And afterwards, we started launching different cities. We now have Canada, Peru, different countries. We have now Canada, Peru, Brazil, Colombia, and recently started some cities in the USA. One of the biggest news this year also was the approval from the Chilean regulatory organization about the Uber purchase. So we're still working on getting the approval from the Mexican organization, but everything's looking fine. So we're actually very, very happy. So what were difficulties? Obviously, the first one was safety. Not only for our shoppers, that are the guys doing their purchases at the stores, but also for the rest of our stakeholders. That includes obviously the clients as well as the stores. Another problem was, how do we deal with this additional demand that, as Leticia pointed out, was created due to the COVID-19 situation? And strictly related with the second point, but how do we manage to have enough shoppers for us to be able to fulfill this new demands, right? So getting into a bit more detail of what we did on safety, first things we did was actually decided that we wanted to be one of the companies that actually took this more seriously, or that was doing the best things in the market. So we decided that we wanted to put everyone's health as the first priority. Then we obviously started defining a bunch of new protocols regarding how should we operate. And then one of the things, and as an example of the new protocols, we started changing the way we handle the huge volumes of people that we normally generate. So for the first point, one of the first things that we did is actually speaking to our shoppers that we thought were in some sort of a risk group. That includes people that are a bit older or that might have any sickness, and we started some sort of a fund for them. So we decided that it was better for them not to connect into the application, so that they could be safe at home, and we would secure certain compensation for them that would be adequate to what they were earning before this situation started. Also, we're constantly communicating with our shoppers and asking them to please not connect if they have any symptoms. We actually support them in case that they have to do a strict quarantine. So we are really, really focusing on how do we do it to keep everyone safe at home. Then, in terms of new protocols we established, obviously we sought contact-free deliveries for all of our orders. That has been going on for a while now, and we had to establish some way of start giving elements of personal protection to all of our shoppers. Right? This, as Leticia mentioned, has been a bit more challenging than we expected. At first, we didn't really have the supply for us to be able to secure the materials for all of our shoppers in all of our countries. So we actually created a refund program in which they could purchase the materials by themselves, and we would refund the value that they had paid for those materials. This was very, very complicated at first, as every country has different regulatory measures that are recommended. But I think we finally managed to get a hold of this. And another things that we did is hire someone to focus exclusively on this subject. That's me. So it's been a couple of intense couple of months lately. Another thing that we changed, as I mentioned, is the way that we handle the big groups of people, right? So currently it works in a way that shoppers need different materials in order to fulfill orders, right? They need either bags or their own EpiPes, that are the protection things. So they have to go to different points in the different cities that they work to get these materials, right? On the graph, you can see for a specific country, each bar corresponds to a different week, and the height of the bar represents the amount of people that we had that week on these points of distribution of materials. As you can see, we've been trying to reduce the number of people that we have at each of one of those points, and we've been doing that by increasing the amount of materials we give them. So if we before gave them only 10 bags, we now give them 20 bags. If we gave them 1 bottle of alcohol, we now give them 2. So that allows us to constantly be reducing the amount of people that we get at the same time at the same place. This obviously had some difficulties in different countries, as we work with different providers everywhere, and most of them do not have the capacity to just double the production that they were giving us. So it took us a while, and that's why you can see like a stare in the graph. So then, getting into consumer demand, we did basically 2 things. We increased the usage of multi-picking, and we modified some parameters in our store buffers. So as I said, we first increased the usage of multi-picking. This is pretty much saying that one shopper can do more than one order at the same time. This allows us to virtually increase the capacity that we have in order to fulfill more orders simultaneously. I mean, when we don't have that many shoppers. And later on, what we did is modify and start using some store buffers. A buffer is pretty much like a block of time that you set as a handicap for either a store, an area, or a country, that allows for our algorithm that assign orders to know that at that store or country or area, you will take some extra time. So for instance, if you set a buffer at 20 minutes, our assigner will start assigning orders 20 minutes earlier to that store in order for us to be able to fulfill the order at the expected time for the client. And last but not least, how did we manage to do what we did in order to be able to fulfill this demand that I showed earlier? We obviously started hiring more shoppers. So on the graph, you have 2 bars that compare pretty much how our shopper base grew weekly. So it's basically the new shoppers divided by the current shoppers. And as you can see, we're growing at a certain rhythm before the pandemic. That's the light blue bar. And that rate actually, I don't know, almost doubled in the period after the outbreak. So obviously this has created a lot of complexity, both for inventory that have had the necessity of start getting more materials constantly, and also for our onboarding teams that are the ones making sure that our shoppers are up to date with the protocols and that they know how to treat the client and everything. So this has also been quite a challenge for us. So here's my honest opinion on how I think things are going to keep moving forward after the COVID emergency. So I think the mindset change that we had about putting everyone's health first will keep being something that we'll always have in mind in Cornershop. And I think we will now that we already changed the way we handle the inventory, I think we will keep doing that further on. We'll still give more materials for our shoppers in order to reduce the amount of people that we have to handle at the same time. And in terms of demand, I think multi-picking and buffers have been a great tool for us, and we will keep using it in not necessarily periods of pandemics, but for sure in periods when we have certain spikes in demands for different reasons. That's it.